please welcome Pushpesh Pant on stage. So Pushpesh, as I said, it's amazing how you use food as a thread through the nation, you know, and he's done books which are on superfoods, on cookbooks, but the one I found most fascinating is about food as a binder of the nation through history. Binder, divider, you know, fascinating stories.
Perhaps both, but before I begin, I think I should, one lives and learns. When Saransh said that 200 kilometers the food changes, I was remembering from my childhood the old Hindi dictum कि 4 कोस में पानी बदले 8 कोस में बानी. So if you have to travel 20,000 kilometers to discover first change in 200 meters, 2 kilometers, it would be a bit odd. He would have missed all of Haryana and reached Punjab, and the food would not be there at all. So I have a problem with that. I think what you say, food is a great binder. And I think the funny part is that it's also divisive. It's always been divisive. Caste is divisive, gender is divisive. But my fascination with food is that, unfortunately, I feel very agitated about it. I'm not very academically inclined. My interest in food began because I thought there are two things which everybody is interested in: food and sex. And you know, everybody indulges, but very seldom talks about it openly. So I think what happens is you can have agricultural policy, you can have haute cuisine, you can talk about similarities, but you would be reluctant to celebrating diversity, and that's what is divisive. So if you are forced to become vegetarian under present circumstances, or you are prohibited to eat certain meats which were eaten historically, you can't even talk about them. It's like the love that dare not take its name. So I think food has played a great role in binding this nation, and I don't think it is so much diversity as you also have interesting ingredients which travel across the land. You might have a coconut, a shifal from coast and reaching all the way to Srinagar, or it could be the saffron.
So I want to, you know, I'm going to treat Pushpesh, like I said, he has such a kaleidoscopic, eclectic mind that I want to treat him like a spice tray, you know, and we're just going to like pick some spices off his mind.
I'm more like a person suffering from perpetual multiple personality disorder.
Fine. So I'm going to speak to the many Pushpeshes inside you, you know. So Pushpesh, I want to start. You have a beautiful metaphor. I saw a metaphor. We all love pan, but it's the first time when I read about what is inside the pan, it was like almost the national anthem, you know. So will you talk to us about the pan and how it's a metaphor for the country?
National anthem is a very sensitive subject. Okay, so I think let's keep the national anthem out of it. And I think it will surprise very many people that pan is not a child of the soil. It is an import which came from Southeast Asia, the Nagvalari, 2,000 years before the birth of Christ, and then we made it our own. And the erica nut, tamul, and pan is interesting. But not everybody in all parts of India eats pan, unless you are talking of a palantolo pan and aphrodisiac pan, which everybody is interested in.
But no, I was asking you about the, you know, just describe for us that many, you know, when you eat a pan, it's actually ingredients coming from all over the country. So when you fold that pan, it's like a shorthand for India. So give us that.
It is not a shorthand for India, but it is an interesting encapsulation of 6 basic flavors. So a palwadi is called a chaurasia because 4 essential flavors go into the pan: the taste of the leaf, katha, chuna, supari, sauf, ilaichi. And if you go back to Amitabh Bachchan's Khai ke Pan Banaras Wala, Pitch Se Thuka, so you know there would be a culture of UP Bihar to chew like curd pan, and there would be Labab Sahab of Lucknow who would be having pan muh mein ghula rahe honge. But when you say we eat pan, how many of us actually eat pan? Pan was murdered in this country about 4 decades back when pan parak came into existence. And the pan masala killed more people through mouth cancer, but killed pan good and proper for all time to come. But now Rajnigandha and Pan Parag and others sponsor brainstorming sessions, so nobody asks those illegitimate questions. One Hawala Hundi was basically one of those big honchos giving a supari. Now this is interesting. The phrases we use in pan, supari dena, bida uthana. So bida uthana was to accept a hazardous suicidal mission, and supari dena, you know, chuna lagana you understand very well. So I think pan is extremely interesting. But when you say we eat pan, are you talking of yourself or me? I'm remembering my late lamented father, who would never eat any other pan but magahi 4 months in a year.
Sorry, you would never eat?
Magahi pan. So how many people make a distinction between a magahi, a mahoba, a sinduri, a kalkatia, a desi, a jagannathi, a sachi, a suhagrati, and so on and on. And then you say कि आपको चिकनी डली चाहिए, आधी कटी सफेद सुपारी चाहिए. अमिताभ बच्चन fine, लौंगा इलायची का बीड़ा बना दे, बलम तरसे, etc. Cold-coated husbands are dime a dozen these days. You don't have to eat pan because of that. But I think, well, you have the beautiful Notaki number with Wahida dances. Pan खाए सैया हमार बलबल के कुर्ते पे छींट लाल लाल. So everybody has thought in terms of malmal of Dhaka. But how many use a chicken ka kurta with malmal, and how many people have the tamiz, tehzeeb, not to have the cheat lal lal here?
Thank you, Pushpesh. I think, only you could make pan sound like Pathan, as exciting.
That's a good one.
So, the other, so like I said, I'm going to use you like a spice tray. I'm just jumping from topic to topic. That another fascinating thing that I thought of was that when you were describing food and its place through history, you said almost, now we have geographic indicators, patents on food, etc. But you said that in India, that imagination has always been there. And the moment you start speaking of it, it again evokes the sheer beautiful diversity of India, of different geographic regions and food, So can you again do an epic list for us?
Shuma, I think this is a brilliant question, because I think the thing which is wrong, like unfortunately the national anthem is pretty divisive in its intonations. Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravid, Utkal, Banga, and so on. I sing out of tune in any case. But the point is, if you have territories which are no longer part of India, like Sindh, and Saraj talked of his Sindhi, Marwadi, Vaishya heritage, I think the problem is that when we look at the map of India as a political map of India, which has been disorganized in my mind linguistically. Otherwise, there would be territories which would be sharing the same food, sharing the same cereal, souring agent, sweetening agent, spicing, cooking styles. So there would be rice eating areas, there would be wheat eating areas, there would be mustard oil areas, there would be coconut oil areas, and there would be kokam, and there would be imli, and there would be nimbu, there would be anardana. So you would have these overflows, which unfortunately the political map of India now doesn't allow us to appreciate. Then there would be marriages. So it's not enough to have diversity. I think what is essential is to celebrate diversity, not tolerate diversity.
No, that's beautifully put. You said something so fascinating. You said that if it wasn't a political map, if we had food map of India, taste maps, like...
We are going to very soon have the millet map of India, is whatever is the current flavor of the season. So we'll have the millet map of India before we have the food map of India.
Right. No, but actually if you think of language, the clothes, seasons, like the whole map of India would look very different. So when we're just talking about not political, but other whimsical ways of thinking of the country, you spoke about the dal divides. This again, in a way, it's a playful way of again reminding ourselves how plural we are as people. That you said as you keep moving across the country, you would see geographic boundaries that are almost like divided by dal.
I think it's a great question. I wish I could do Saranch and bring in the French and say that the little lentils were brought to India when French and English were doing it. That's the latest I have heard on the butter chicken. I thought it was stale tandoori chicken, which everybody invented that to serve the next day. You had a sauce, tomato ki gravy, dal butter makhani. There is a gentleman who claims that he invented butter makhani. There are two actually, Mr. Banga's partner and the Kundanlal Sahib in Daryaganj. So I think the Saranch's butter chicken is his thing. A great dish, I'm sure. But the point is, when you talk in terms of
dal divides.
I think dal is something which goes with rice, dal bhat, dal roti is essential, is the vegetarian protein which the Indians get without getting into soya chap business and without getting into the paneer and so on. And dal, everybody eats. But what you do with the dal, do you know what a perfectly cooked dal is? Arar ki dal, yellow dal. But when you say yellow dal, arar ki dal, yellow masoor, dhuli urad, dhuli moong, sonar moong bhaja, whatever it is, chana, cholar dal, Or when you say kali dal, it is the madi dal, bendi dal, whatever you want to call it. But the point is dal makhni, dal bukhara. I mean, you brand and you create a back history for this. Is nice to sell food. What you eat at home, I think interests me most. Is like the sex. What you do in the bed in your bedroom, you enjoy it. You don't make a show of it. But when you get into food business and you become a performer, then you do funny things, which is food pornography.
Just to go back to mapping the country through dals, you just rattled off.
Yes,
You were saying that there's almost like a border in the country when you move from kali dal to pili dal.
I must say,
and is there a cultural change that
I
happens?
must say, Jairam Ramesh made this distinction, yellow dal territory, somewhere near Kanpur, which divides east and west. But I think it's more than that. You have arar ki dal, tuar dal, which goes into sambar, which goes into amti in Maharashtra, which goes into dal kari in Lucknow, Awadh, which goes into chorat ki roti and dal somewhere in the eastern UP. You could do this only with arar ki dal. You could have the same with dhuli moong, whether it is sonar moong or whether it is dhuli moong, jo pili, which is prescribed for easy digestion to infirm and old and in the khichdi kind of thing. Then you have not only one sambar, most South Indian friends would be very upset with me, was of more recent vintage. What we have in Sangam literature is not sambar, which is rasam, in Mani Mekhalai and Silapadikaram and so on. And sambar goes back to Sarfoji, Savoji in the Tanjore court. So I think there are interesting things about dal, and you have pappus in Andhra Pradesh, which are very different. You have dalma in Odisha with sag, which is very different from sambar. You also have dalcha with meat or without meat, kaddu ka dalcha or gosht ka dalcha in Hyderabad. So you have the great phrase, ye mo or masoor ki dal, which again goes to aphrodisia. I mean, I have a dirty mind. The older I get, dirtier it becomes. There was this cook who went to
The
Nawab.
hungrier, the dirtier and more.
And more, yes.
More.
But in this case, more is less. The older you grow, the less it is,
The more you want, the less you get.
I recall the sign in Darpana studio, Malika Sarabhai's in Ahmedabad. When you go to the male's toilet, there's on the mirror a poster. It says, "Aim carefully; it is shorter than you think." So I think the problem is the dal. I think is a fascinating thing. Somebody said about tadka and chalk and dhuar and so on, but I think Shallu Khurana, the great musician, educated me about what the difference in a tadka is. When you have dal fry, it is a hodgepodge. But when you have a tadka of a hot diya with ghee, long, lesun, hari mirch, kali mirch, pepper, and I think I was quite stunned when somebody said you can crush the seeds and use them for pepper. They may look like dirty black specks, but the pepper has a beautiful flavor, which was a princess ransom. How can the papita, you can be sustainable, but it will take the fun out of life.
Radhika, I'll have to get you back on stage to answer that question. But Pushpesh, I just want to move to a couple of other questions, which is that, you said that in the Hindu tradition, that one looks at food as Brahman, that the whole philosophy around food is different. So can you spell out that what is being...
Well, you see, everybody loves to go back to Vedas. Vedas have everything and nobody knew anything before the Vedas. So we agree on that. So Veda has a richa which says Annam vai Brahma, Annam vai Rasa. So first part everybody agrees on. Anna is the cosmic reality. Food is the cosmic reality. But nobody bothers about the second part which comes from the same verse. Annam vai Rasa. Food is great fun. Food is sap. Food is ecstasy. So why should be one? It's again like sex. It could be procreation or recreation. So why not the food be ras as well?
Right. Yes, procreation or recreation, we are definitely focusing on the recreation with you, Prabir. So, when I was talking about building the nation, it's fascinating how you talk about how cuisine identity has been built both out of the consolidation of the nation as well as the empire breaking down, or different kingdoms breaking down. So again, I want you to take our audience to the Tanjore court, or to Tamil Nadu, the Mysore court, how the food changed, that they were...
No, but why do you go to Tamil Nadu? Because it's fashion keep. Tamil Nadu was neglected. We are always Delhi-centric. We talked of Mughlai food and so on. Why not stay with something which is very, very basic and top of khichdi? Prime Minister eats it, Prime Minister serves it to his state guests. They don't have too much choice about that. They have either dhokla sandwich or they have khichdi. But khichdi is something which finds mention in Vedic literature. Khichdi is what in Kitabul Hind Al-Baruni says is the porridge-like gruel which average Indian has one meal and sustains himself on that. You have a khichdi called Laziza, which is Birbal ki khichdi. I think we have 5 minutes. Birbal ki khichdi, Birbal ki khichdi, which is Laziza, which was... why did it take it so long? Because it was cooked to celebrate the victory of Jahangir, Prince Salim then, of Anarkali fame. Akbar had not been able to subdue the Sultanate of Gujarat. Salim did. So when he came to Fatehpur Sikri, a special khichdi was cooked for it. Why? Because khichdi was a sub-national dish of Gujarat and he had digested Gujarat, so to speak. So now he's going to do it literally second time on. And this khichdi took hours to cook. That was the Birbal ki khichdi. And Salma Hussain has done a great job of giving it a place in Aurangzeb's Dastarkhan, who, contrary to popular belief, loved good things of life, including Hirabai and including some music before he became a Sufi. So this Laziza was... Actually, I'll end with this. I'll shut up fast. Otherwise my karma will catch up with me. I will get a teaching lesson in old age. But the funny part was that one of the letters Aurangzeb writes to his son says, "Dear son, I asked you to lend me your cook who makes brilliant khichdi.
Sorry, lend me
your chef who makes brilliant khichdi, but you refuse to do so. Can I request you now to find an understudy who can cook at least halfway as good khichdi as him?" This is documented. So Aurangzeb was not a killer of all joy all the time. No. And khichdi was great. Lovely khichdi, yes.
Yeah. No, so, why I had asked you, we always look at conquests as blood and death and territory. What I found fascinating in your book was... You're giving me a mic, Pushpesh? Amazing.
Share and share alike.
So I was saying that through conquests, cuisines changed, because when conquerors went to each other's kingdoms, they took food with them. That's why I was asking you to...
I don't believe in this theory of conquest. I think amor vincit omnia, if I'm getting my Latin tag right, love conquers all. The halwa did not come to India with the conquerors, the Arabs. Arabs came in peace as traders to Kerala coast and brought halwa with them. And that halwa, I mean, of course, you can go back to Menaka, Vishwamitra, Shakuntala and that story, or even Chavan Rishi, a Randy old Rishi, who concocted an avle for him, the halwa, again aphrodisiac halwa, but they are all long stories. I think food does not, take the Mughals, they may have come as conquerors, but the food, they became children of the soil, and the food which goes by the name of Mughalia is actually for Mughalia, which the British foisted on the rest of us, because they wanted to have a mandate that we are the direct successors.
So, before we move to the tasting, I want you to remind us again about the complex nature of history, which is again the colonial experience. Today, all of us love bread, and the French are associated with a fascinating range of breads. But you're saying that bread actually came to us through conquest, or through at least the invaders, quote unquote. So tell us the story of bread.
I don't think that bread came to us as invaders. Samosa did not come for invaders. No, Portuguese brought one kind of bread, which was pav, which goes into pav bada, which goes into pav bhaji, which goes into double pav bread ke pakode, which goes into double ka meetha. I mean, that is a different ball game altogether. I wish the French breads had come to us. I mean, it would be different. But there was a leavened bread along the Central Asian route, and they were baking their own breads. I mean, you don't tell me that Shirmal came with the French. You don't tell me that Gaudida and Gauzoban, both very loaded words, bullseye and cow's tongue as breads cooked in, and taftan and kulcha, they were being cooked in India before. Some were improved. I think the French baker took them to, no, I must do my bit for the country and the cause. There is no free supper and free tasting either. So there was Claude Martin, a French soldier of fortune, who probably introduced Nawab Wajid Ali Shah's ancestors or descendants, whatever that may be, of great quality breads and baking skills. That I would concede very, very readily, that the better breads, the shirmal, kulcha, taftan, gaudida, probably cake-like breads, came from the French. To go back to the revolution, there was a great French lady who, when farmers were committing suicide, would have said, here, why don't they have cakes? So what the Awadh Nawabs did, they made cake-like breads.
So I'm going to end on that note and open this up. Just last question to you was the great Indian curry. You say that it's actually when India began to consolidate under the British that the railways came, the trains came, that food began to get.
Curry was much before that. I mean, Colin Taylor has documented it very well. Lizzie Cunningham has documented it very well. Even that Boer, Dr. Achaya has documented it reasonably, that curry was a Tamil ancient dish called kari, which was meat or vegetables cooked with condiments. It became curry, mutton, egg, fish, etc. later. But now who eats curry? We eat kormas, we eat kaliyas, we eat dopyazas, we eat ishtus. I mean, curry is not there for us. It's much too humdrum to eat.
On that note, that should have whetted our appetite. The next time we put any morsel into our mouth, I hope Pushpesh explodes in our mind with the sheer diversity, pleasure, and the ecstasy of food. Like he said, the ras. So thank you very, very much, Pushpesh.
I greatly enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Please join the French Embassy for a tasting, and then we'll come back together for a fascinating session on people who are really transforming farming in the most amazing ways, and also with Rujita Devekar, who's a celebrity nutritionist and fitness